This is my all-time favorite top 10 movies. I'm going to do in backwards order. I'm just going to put up the posters. I always point the wrong way. I'm just going to put up the posters, and I'll probably make a playlist of the trailers or something later. You've seen these movies, most of them, I hope. If you haven't, I can't see me doing spoilers, but yeah. I have a whole list. I have a list of 200 that I made, oh God, like 10 years ago now. About 5 years ago, I said to myself, I gotta update it. Can't do it. I just can't update them. Not that there aren't some movies that'll fit in, but there's been so many that to go through the whole list and try to rearrange everything, it's just gonna be too complicated. So, my number 10 favorite movie of all time is True Lies. Now, you've seen this. It's starring Arnold. Oh, you should have, if you're old enough. If you're like older than 30 and you never saw it, I don't know what's going on. But it's Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Arnold and James Cameron directed it. I'm trying to think of the other actor's name. Oh, this is terrible. I like him a lot too. Yeah, I cheated. Bill Paxton. I love Bill Paxton. He was also in another one of my not top 10 favorites, but close, Tombstone. But Bill Paxton and Tia Carrere and Eliza Dushku. I think that's about it. But yeah, this movie was, to me, the best Bond movie. And it wasn't a Bond movie. I mean, Harry Rehnquist was everything James Bond should be. He was funny. He rode a horse. he did everything. And he tangos. I mean, how can he be more perfect than that? And it was hilarious. I mean, Tom Arnold was the comedian, but the funny stuff were those that, should I call it a scene? Because it was a couple scenes with Bill Paxton, and he was just great. And there's everything in that movie. It's perfect. It's, to me, it's James Cameron's best. Obviously, if it's in my top 10. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I mean, I'm lucky enough that I saw most of these movies. Well, the ones that came out after I was born, in the theater. And I remember seeing True Lies in the theater. And those movies are so beautiful, with that blue tint and everything that makes it so pretty. But yeah, True Lies is my number 10. It has everything. Even a dog. Okay, so my number 9 all-time favorite movie is Saturday Night Fever. Now, I did not see this in the theater because I was probably a little kid at the time. I think it's from 1977, is it? Let's see. It was also Carolyn Gorney and Donna Pascal. I liked from, also she had a show called Angie. I don't know which came first, because I watched Angie when I was little, and I remember Corey Feldman was on there, which is weird, and Doris Roberts, I think. But yeah, Saturday Night Fever. I'm not from Brooklyn, but where I'm from, people I'm from Massachusetts. I mean, New York, and it's different, but not so much. My neighborhood kind of looks like his neighborhood. And I mean, by the time I was old enough to go out dancing, it wasn't quite like that anymore. But to just live in a place where, it's so, everybody just complains all the time, and it's just, I identified with Tony Manero. Even though when I was growing up, it was, what was it, like, almost 10 years on. And, but I love dancing. I used to try to learn to do the hustle. I used to watch the movie and try to learn to do the hustle, do the steps from when they're dancing to Night Fever. Of course, it's got the most amazing soundtrack. And that, of course, like I said, my favorite scene of anything is in that movie. It's when he's dancing to You Should Be Dancing. I watched this movie so much. It seems so old now. At the time when I grew up watching it, it wasn't the distant past. But it seemed like a world where you know, you just wanted to get out. You wanted to get out into the big world, you know. I love that movie. All these movies I've seen well over 50 times. It has so many of those iconic Travolta quotes, you know. My hair. Oh, I work on my hair a long time and he hits it. He hits my hair. But, you know, it's, I don't know how people would look at it now. Maybe it's dated. But for me, it was great, and it shows the hopelessness of growing up in a neighborhood where most people just resign themselves to the life they end up with because of what happens in your adolescent years, really. And it determines your whole life. And either you can get out or you can't. Okay, so my number 8, I know that was a weird way to end. My number 8 favorite movie is Top Secret, starring Val Kilmer, who is my favorite actor to this day. I don't know why my mother took me to see this movie in the theater, but I did, and I ended up loving this movie. I watched it so many times, and you know what's weird? Not that long ago, I must have seen it 100 times anyway. Not that long ago, I was watching somebody do a reaction video to this, and they caught something I never noticed. That's so crazy. These are the Abram Zucker movies, the guys who made Airplane. This one is a musical. Val Kilmer sings the songs. It's sort of like it's a spoof of war pictures and Elvis movies, which is just amazing. I mean, how silly can you get? Is one of the songs, and it's basically the movie. I mean, if you see my top 10 movies explain my personality, and this is a big chunk of it. I mean, and the names of the characters, there's an actor, and every time I saw him, for years, I just called him Deja Vu. And then he ended up on Downton Abbey, and I'm like, oh my god, it's Deja Vu. His name is Jim something, but yeah, it's, he's like the head, I almost said head waiter, the head butler man on Downton Abbey, but, yeah, this movie entertained me to no end. To this day, if I feel really bad, I can put it on, and it still makes me happy, and, all the people I like as actors, I don't really say somebody's a favorite actor of mine unless I've probably seen them sing, and or at least attempt to sing, but they have to be funny. If you can't be funny as an actor, because anybody can cry and yell and throw things, you know, but if you're a great actor and you haven't been funny, and I mean really funny, then I'm not counting you. Okay, I'm not counting you as a great actor. So yeah, anybody who hasn't seen it should watch it. There's so many, like I said, reactors doing those movies now. It's so great to watch them and see how fantastic they are. But I mean, if when I don't know people and I tell them they need a recommendation, I say Top Secret every time. That's my go-to recommendation to everybody. My number 7 favorite movie, let's see what it is. The Usual Suspects. I saw it. When I lived in New York, I knew a girl who, well, wait a minute, I just still call people girls even if they're like 900 years old. I knew a woman who was in Lincoln Center Film Society at the time, and she had tickets to go see this new movie called The Usual Suspects. And we went, and there was a screening, and there was the director, and she's like, he looks like a little kid. And it was Bryan Singer, and I loved this movie so much. And I couldn't talk about it for a month. It was a month before it came out, or like 3 weeks or something, like a good enough time before it came out, and I knew who Kaiser Soze was, and I loved it, and I couldn't say shit. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I'm not spoiling. If I ever spoil a movie for somebody, I will cry. I do not want to do that. Benicio del Toro became an instant favorite of mine. He's my second favorite actor. And it was just so cool and perfect. And so yeah, Bryan Singer directed, Christopher McQuarrie wrote it. Who else? So yeah, Benicio, Kevin Spacey. I think Kevin Spacey won for Best Supporting Actor. Maybe not. He won at some point, but I think it was for this. And Kevin Pollak, Stephen Baldwin, Chaz Palminteri, Dan Hedaya, Susie Amos. What? I'm missing one of them. Wait a minute. Oh my God, Dean Keaton himself, Gabriel Byrne. Yeah, yeah, it's such a great film. I like noir. I like old noir. So I guess you could call this neo noir. It was called neo noir at the time, I believe. I guess people call it mystery, maybe not suspense, crime, obviously. I think most people have seen it. If they haven't seen it, they should. It's amazing to me because through the lockdown, I've watched a lot of reaction videos, and some of the movies kids haven't seen. I call them kids, they're in their 20s, and I'm just like, it had to be on cable. It had to be on, like, because when I was a kid and I had cable, I saw all the movies, not all the movies, but a lot of the big ones from the decade before, especially the ones people called classics, or, that were popular, or, the kind people talk about at a water cooler. So, but yeah, if you haven't seen it, by all means see it. I mean, until recently, that was the movie I'd seen the most times in the theater. I don't have a lot of money, but back then I lived in New York and there was a $3 movie theater, so I went a lot after I saw it that initial time. And yeah, I'll always recommend that to people. It's one of my favorites. It's going to stay one of my favorites. I don't care what anybody does outside of a movie. I judge the art, and I still love it. Oh, what's that noise? So, Dr. Zhivago, starring Omar Sharif and Julie Christie. And nope, here I go again. Old age is terrible, but I also think I have my own special memory problems. That's why I get stuck on words and names. It's not that I'm pretending that I like these things. I like them a lot. I just get stuck. Rod Steiger. See, I could see his face. I couldn't remember his name. Rod Steiger was great. Yeah, I love this movie. It's like long as hell, and I don't mind it. It actually has an intermission. To me, if it's a great movie, it can just go on and on. It's about Russia back in the old days. I had to read the book when I was in college for Russian literature, which honestly, there's a whole nother chick at the end. So I like threw the book and I was like, don't lie to me. I watched that movie so many times. But yeah, I love it. I love the song, the theme song, with the balalaika. When I used to watch it when I was younger, I was Strelnikov. Now I'm Komarovsky, which sucks, but it is what it is. Julie Christie's so beautiful in it. So was Omar Sharif, for that matter. And it has my favorite face in it for a second. My favorite all-time movie face is Klaus Kinski. Perfect face. But yeah, so I don't want to spoil anything. It's an old movie. I said it was by David Lean, right? I think it's 1965. So, of course I didn't see that in the theater, but I watched it all the time. My mom liked Omar Sharif, so she would watch it with me. But, yeah, it's one of the classics. Let's see, my number 5 all-time favorite movie is The Outsiders, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, the only director who has 2 in my top 10, and guess that's why he's my favorite director. The Outsiders, I did not see in the theater when I was a kid. When they did the re-release, I saw it in the theater, and I cried. I almost cried because they changed it so much, and they changed the music, and I didn't like the refurbished version at all. But the original version that I watched is pretty much the home video one that everybody saw, but it also had this scene later on after this little added on scene of the Curtis brothers and what happens to them. So that version is my favorite version. This is my favorite, number 5 favorite movie. Of course, it starred all those young actors. This was when I was in the 6th grade, right? So everybody had a favorite. It was on TV by then, I guess. Everybody had a favorite. Ralph Macchio was my favorite, but you know, I loved all those guys. My second favorite scene, you know, to look at is the Rumble. It just looks so beautiful because it's a Rumble. It's raining. It just looks amazing. It was funny because when they did do the refurbishment and they then did the video, I watched the video and I watched the actors talking about it. And it was funny because Matt Dillon seemed really surprised at what a great movie it was. And I was like, duh. Yeah, you know, because people think it's a bunch of teenage boys and it was a movie that the girls liked and it was made off of a book, you know, S.C. Hinton wrote this book that teens read, but it was a really great movie. And if you haven't seen it, of course, Rob Lowe, who else didn't I say? Darren Dalton, Emilio Estevez, Patrick Swayze, C. Thomas Howell. Is that everybody? Did I say Tom Cruise? Because Tom Cruise wasn't in it that much. So, like I said, I said it in a previous video, I was very surprised when out of that group, he became the really big famous one. I think I got everybody. Okay, so, and Francis Ford Coppola's dad had done the music, and I loved the music and the theme song. I'm not a big Stevie Wonder fan, but the theme song was great. I mean, so when they replaced all the background music with like music of the time, like rock and roll music, it just changed the whole movie. And there were some added scenes that were unnecessary, but the music being replaced, so really, if you watch it, try to watch an old version. See if it's in the... I got 2 copies out of the cheap bin in Walmart, just in case, you know. But yeah, so, let's see. That was number 5, right? My number 4 all-time favorite movie is Star Wars. What we would now call Star Wars A New Hope. But it was just Star Wars. And if this wasn't the first movie I saw in the theater, because I'm not sure, because I know I also saw Freak Friday when I was really young, the Jodie Foster one. But it was either the first or second movie I saw in the theater. I was really little. I remember saving my popcorn, which was in a box that flapped over, and taking the rest of my popcorn home. And I remember what it smelled like in the garbage chute, because I made up a bad smell and just kept that smell in my mind. So years later, when I was an older kid, like 10 or something, and I saw it on cable, because it just come on HBO all the time, I was like, oh yeah, that's what it smells like. Of course, I mean, that movie meant everything to my generation, especially those of us who saw it when we were little. And, you know, it shaped my whole way of thinking and my philosophy. The Force. And I looked up to Luke Skywalker. He didn't look like me. I didn't care. You know, yeah, there's nothing really to say. I mean, I still get chills, like at the end with the, you know, the tribute, the award ceremony scene, when it goes dun 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 dun, choo, choo. You know, when Chewie's there and like he growls in the, you know, the what instrument is that? I don't even know. Violin? Anyways, yeah. I love that part. But I love the whole movie, obviously, but I get chills when they go to get their awards. Number 3. I'm looking just to make sure. I know what it is. I was trying to make sure I counted right. Okay, number 3 is The Godfather. The other Francis Ford Coppola movie. The Godfather. And I've made this mistake before where I forgot what was Godfather and Godfather 2. Okay, I like the Al Pacino stuff. I like his plight. I identify with Michael Corleone. I am not a family-centered person, but family ended up being something I had to deal with anyway. Every time I get out, they pull me back in. I know that's part 3. I love that movie. What the thing is, when I was growing up, I didn't have much of a sense of family, actually, and I used to watch that, and I wanted to be Italian from watching that movie, you know? I wanted Al Pacino to be my dad. Um, yeah, of course, Marlon Brando's amazing. They were just all amazing. James Caan as Sonny, I really enjoyed Sonny. Yeah, that movie's just fantastic. Um, you've seen it. I hope you have. If you haven't seen The Godfather, I mean, there are people who haven't seen Star Wars. I don't even. How are you? If you're older than 5, how have you not seen Star Wars? But anyway, so number 3 is The Godfather. My number 2 all-time favorite movie, I do not have to look, is Rocky. And Rocky was my favorite movie since I was a kid, all the way up to 2001, when my number 1 favorite movie came out. I love Rocky Balboa. Everybody loves Rocky Balboa. I used to be around film snots who would act like Rocky was one of the stupid Best Picture winners, and then they did a poll, and they showed little kids, not little kids, but like teenage girls, like 13-year-olds or whatever, decided they were going to do a summer project or something, and they watched every single Oscar winner, and their favorite was Rocky, because it's the best story ever. You have this guy, it's an underdog story, he's down on his luck, he gets the shot, is he going to make the shot? When he's sitting, don't ever tell me Sylvester Stallone isn't a great actor, because when he's sitting there, and he's thinking about that he gets the offer, and he's sitting in that chair, look at his face. Look at his face. Look at him. Being afraid to take the shot. It's so late in his life. It's just awesome. Of course, Talia Shire. She should be my favorite actress, right? She's in 2 of the top 3. Talia Shire, Burt Young, Burgess Meredith, who's one of the greatest actors ever. And of course the music. Of course the music. Yeah, I mean, it's the prototype. It's the prototype for every movie where of underdogs and hope and, you know, fighting the good fight and all that. Sylvester Stallone, I mean, like I said, sometimes I feel like I had 2 dads growing up. Sylvester Stallone and George Lucas. Rocky and Star Wars, again, they were on HBO, Cinemax all the time when I was a kid, like every other day, meaning they were on every day, just alternate channels, both those well, a couple of movies. I just watched these things like crazy. And they informed my life and what I think about everything, you know? So, these are the major influences on me. It's not just movies. They influence you, and they teach you about the human spirit and how to be. Which takes us to my number 1 all-time favorite movie that came out in 2001. Can you guess? Can you guess? You know what it is. It is The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, the extended edition. Now, again, I said, if a movie's great, it might as well keep going. So, I remember seeing it in the theater, the not extended edition, and I still remember the moment when I got really sucked in, and it was when Arwen was being chased by the ring wraiths with Frodo, you know, and that's not a spoiler. But I just remember just being like, and being like, drawn right into the film, and from then on in I was in it, and it was just so amazing and extraordinary. And at that point I didn't say it was my favorite film, but then when I got home and I got the special edition and there was all that extra stuff, especially over in Lothlorien with more Sean Bean, who's my number 3 favorite actor. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's been a lot of, since then, with the effects and everything, there's been a lot of great movies that have now built off of what they did and what Peter Jackson did. But at the time I said, nobody's going to be able to recreate this. 20 years on. 20 years on. Nobody's gotten close to doing that kind of spectacle where it's like, you know, just such a leap forward in what movies can do, where they can take us. And it was everything. If you remember, that was after 9/11. If you remember how important Gandalf's speech was after that, about what to do with the time that's given you. That movie was everything. It is everything here in the lockdowns. They did the reunion. I mean, that was such an amazing thing. If you haven't seen it, please watch the reunion that Josh Gad put together of the Fellowship. It should have been 3.5 hours long. But yeah, I wish we could even go back to that time. Things have gotten so crazy, but everything, again, the battle between good and evil, that's always my favorite thing. The underdog, you know, all that, somebody trying to overcome their circumstances. It's just and the work that went into it. I watched the special features so much, and the behind the scenes, and you know, you can't tig on a tag, and all the commentaries, and just over and over and over again I watched all that stuff. And it was just such a I want to say family thing. I'm not a family person, but it was such a, I don't know, I guess we felt like we were part of the Shire, all the fans. And you know, when you watch it all and you get so immersed into every like the behind the scenes stuff, every single part of it, you know, and you start to know all the people's names, and Richard Taylor, and all the, what was the guy, Gene Acevedo or something like, I mean, you started to know everybody's name. Again, my brain doesn't work from old age, but yeah, it was just an extraordinary moment. It's an extraordinary film. The only movie that I mean, nothing's come close. The only movie since any of these movies have been out that was getting close was my number 11 movie, which I'll tell you, even though this is now the honorable mention section, I guess. It didn't make my top 10, but it's The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight's my number 11. But yeah, so that was my top 10. That's who I am. That's why I am. I'm a movie fan through and through. I'm sorry to see it go. I don't see myself going back. But it was great. It was a privilege to be a movie fan. Those movies made me who I am. I thank everybody who was involved. I appreciate that I was able to be alive to see that stuff. My happiest days, my happiest times watching these films. And I'm really thankful that they existed. And I wish everybody involved just every happiness. And I hope that they can make more if they're still with us, because I think they mostly are. But yeah, it'd be great if I could get something as great as those movies again. Hadn't happened lately, but maybe. You never know.